Hey everybody, welcome to this week's live stream. I hope everybody's doing great today. So we are going to be doing something kind of fun today. I haven't done this for a long time now. We are going to be casting some gator jaw bone. It's not real bone. I'm not a big fan of turning bone and all that stuff. It's fine, but again, I'm a little bit more interested in the casting side of things. And compared to actual bone, resin bone turns a lot better. So I kind of like those. I made a mold a long time ago, like one or two of them. And before anybody asked if I'm selling the molds, I'm not, because they were kind of a pain to make. But I have a couple of them, and every once in a while I use some of my leftovers. That's another reason for, if you see something that you want to, maybe recreate and something silly, something you want to cast, again, or something like that. We do it with the faux burl molds. I do it with these little gator things. There's all kinds of different things you could make. Another idea that I have for leftovers, I need to design it, but you can also make little pen holders. I don't know if there's like a name for those things, but you can just kind of rest your pen on it. And so eventually I want to make something like that, where I'm just using some of the leftovers, and you can just, make a mold and pour some little pen holder kind of things. So that's what we're going to do today. We got some leftover resin. Like I said, I've been kind of playing with this, and YouTube's not, I'm getting warning messages. Hopefully everything's going good. It looks like everything's good, but hold on a minute. Let me look at something. Yeah, it looks like it's fine. Okay. I don't know where I was, but I've been making, a few of these every once in a while. I've been kind of playing around with, new colors and all that kind of stuff. So I've got quite a few. Let's go to the overhead real quick, and you guys can kind of see. I got a whole bucket full of these guys. And these are going to be going into the Pen Blank Club boxes. So I got a couple of the mermaid mixes, and that's kind of a color shift or something like that. I've been doing, a few like kind of team colors. So they're pretty fun. I don't know, pretty cool. And just so anybody, if anybody doesn't know what you get, this is a real gator jawbone pen. I did dye stabilize it, but that's what you get. And it's just kind of an interesting thing. Now this one's a little bit cluttered. When you put a bunch of colors together with the gator jawbone, it kind of blends in a little bit more. It's not as apparent. A lot of times it's kind of it depends on what you're going for. This is a cool pen. I like these colors and everything, but if you really want it to pop out, going with like a stark white gator jawbone, and then going with like a dark color or something like that, something that's going to be a high contrast, so that the little tooth holes like really pop out at you. That's kind of a cool way to do it, but you can do whatever you want. Obviously, it doesn't really matter. They usually look pretty good, so it should be pretty fun today. What I'm going to use for my casting molds, I'm just going to drop them in these guys. I like these things from Maker Select. They're pretty cool. The one difference between like the silicone molds from like Jake Blanks, which I use those quite often as well, but they're a little bit floppier, and I just find that your blanks sometimes kind of come out. They can be like not perfectly square. So it depends on what's going on. The silicone molds are probably easier to demold, but these Maker Select ones are really good, and they keep a nice rigid square shape. So it's either way, But I use the Jake Blank molds quite a bit, so I think well, these things are all warmed up now, so we'll go with the Maker Select ones. You can get those at Turner's Warehouse. They got lots of different sizes of those types of things, and for anybody that doesn't really know how these work, they have little holes in the bottom, and so you can, the easiest way is you just kind of bang it on the desk, and then grab yourself an air hose, and you can just pop them out if they don't just fall out already. So these are a great mold. The only, I guess, drawback to these, you're going to get a little tab on the bottom of your blank that you're going to need to kind of sand off. But if you've got like a belt sander or something like that, it takes 2 seconds. You just knock it off. So I'm going to go over, the one thing I forgot to do is I'm going to spray these with Stoner mold release real quick. If you do that, then they just pretty much fall out. So I'm going to go off camera real quick here. I'm just using the Stoner urethane mold release. And I'm going to make sure I'm spraying kind of away from those jobs. I'm actually going to go kind of over here. I don't want to be spraying the mold release near the thing that I'm trying to recast. So I got that one sprayed. And I'm going to pop this into the oven. This kind of helps the resin settle down. One of the nice things about these Maker Select molds also, the corners are rounded. So you don't get that kind of corner creep that you would get. Having that, I don't know if you guys know, but if you cast something in a square slot, a lot of times you can get kind of where the resin kind of pulls back. It almost looks like it's shrunk, but what's happening is the resin's kind of gravitating towards the center where it's warmest. And that sharp point, it just doesn't like to kind of hang out in that corner. It kind of likes a more rounded one. And so usually you don't get that kind of corner creep, but it is good to heat up your molds anyway. So I'm going to go over here and spray this one real quick. And we should be ready to rock and roll here. So the big reminder announcement is the Turner's Warehouse open house is happening. It's coming up really quick now. So if you're thinking about going, you might want to make your plans. So that's a link that'll take you to, you can see like the demo schedule and all that stuff, but it's February 8th is like the main open house day. I'm not 100% sure. Friday's happening also, so I don't know, because I'm doing a demo on Friday and I think it's open. I mean, I don't know. I'm guessing you can stop by. I don't know all the details, obviously, but I did just get a. Wait, what? Sorry, I just got a text from Amy. I wanted to double check and make sure that the demos during their demo day, if you can't make it, they are going to be live streaming the demos. So on their YouTube channel, and for anybody that hasn't already subscribed to their YouTube, I'm going to get a link real quick to that because you should really be watching their channel. If you watch my channel, you're going to want to watch their channel because they do live streams on Wednesdays in the afternoons. And they do a lot of really good stuff. You know, for anybody that doesn't know much, most of you guys probably will know, but if you don't know Chad, I mean, Chad is like one of the best makers like on the planet. Like he has a ton of knowledge. Like he's really good at making, you know, pens and knives and like anything. He has good knowledge, and he's kind of a no-nonsense kind of person. Like he's not going to go off the deep end like I do sometimes with nitpicking about things. He's going to find the best way to get things done, get good results, but get it done quick. Like he's got really good techniques like that. And especially like he's the type of person that he knocks out tons and tons of stuff. So he has to find ways to, you know, produce something at a high quality, but not waste time. So he's got really good information. So make sure to check out their channel, subscribe, and all that good stuff. So let's see. Let's go back up to the top and see. It looks like Mike McEwen was here. Woodturners Guild meeting. Well, that takes precedent, of course. And we got Bruce and Brian and Vinny. Homer Lex is in the house. Revo. And let's see. David Bingham's here. Frederick Johnson. Kim's here. Lily is here. Cool. And Jim. Nice. Lots of people. And Dances with Aardvarks. I love that name. Dances with Aardvarks. I love it. All right. So it looks like I caught everyone. If I missed you, sorry about that. I just didn't see it. So first thing I'm going to do before we get started with the casting today, I'm going to just demold this. For anybody that's bought my faux burl molds or are thinking about maybe purchasing them and are like, how do you demold these things? Let's demold a faux burl. So the first thing I want to say is the top edge, and I don't know if I can, do you see that? That's sharp. That little thing, what ends up happening is the resin kind of goes up the side in a little thin line. So right here, all of that outside, that is extremely sharp. Like you will like slice yourself on that. So when you're demolding these, be very careful when you're kind of, you know, handling this thing. And in some cases, there may be like little sharp things on the edges. sometimes. So just kind of be a little bit careful, you know, feel around before you start shoving your finger in there. Let's see here. So what I like to do is I like to go on the side. How do I explain that? There's a side that should feel squishier, like there's less stuff. It should be more silicone. Like the thing is kind of angled. Let's see, let me go grab one, try and explain this, because it does kind of help to find the right side to start. So I'll show you what's in there is one of these things. And so what's happening is it's in this mold in this orientation. And so you want to find the side where there's going to be more silicone right here, and that's right here. You can kind of feel it be a little squishier where there's no resin, basically. So I like to go in there, and what I do is I get my thumb inside and I just kind of pop it. And then I like to peel around the edge as much as I can, and I just kind of keep going around. And like I said, be careful when you're sliding your finger, because that's the sliding action on this sharp edge. That's where it'll get you. And I've been gotten quite a few times. Once you kind of get it popped out, if you can kind of just wiggle it, or sometimes you can just kind of push it up from the bottom if it hasn't really popped out, and then it should just wiggle out. So it's not hard. I don't know if that was entirely necessary, but I needed to demold this anyway. So I thought, if you're not sure, like, what the best way, and these molds are pretty resilient. I mean, they can rip, but you can usually kind of, really kind of manhandle and pull them apart. They should be, they should have enough give to get a finger in there, no problem. And the other thing is, even if you get little rips or anything like that, I mean, it's not like you're taking this out and it's going to be like the masterpiece sitting on your, whatever. You're going to recast this and then turn it down. So even if you got a rip or anything like that in there, what would end up happening? Let's see if I have any here. You might get little blobs kind of on the side of your faux burl. And if they were big enough, it would be kind of a clump of resin, like the resin would go in that crack. Worst case scenario, you just kind of sand it off if it doesn't fit into the PVC pipe when you recast it. Usually, I mean, it's not going to be like that anyway, so it's not a big deal. But so now we got a brand new faux burl, and there should be, I have one box full of faux burls for anybody that wants to buy a box. I like to make these things, and then I package up a box of 10, and they'll be on my website. They're not ready yet. They should be ready actually after today, probably. I didn't think about that. I'll add them back to the website. And just so you know, oh, that's not the right. Let's go here. Just so you guys know, let's see. It would be under the limited editions category. So I'm going to link to the limited editions. There's a menu item, like a drop-down menu thing, and if you just click on limited editions, they'll be under that on my website. But here's a direct link for anybody. Like I said, they're out of stock right now, so you can't order them, but I'll just put this in the chat window here, and I'll try and remember to put a link down in the description after the stream. For anybody that's watching later, again, these things, I should have 2 boxes available Monday, basically. So maybe even tomorrow. Don't get gotten. I know. Well, it sucks when you cut yourself on these things, because I'm telling you, they're like razor sharp on this top edge. Let me show you what they look like. Razor sharp, guys. They're all craggly. And like I said, I mean, it's not a big deal. Like pressing on it's not sharp that way, but it's so like fine. It becomes such a fine point that if you slide, that's where you get gotten. So just be careful when you're kind of demolding these things. But these are on my website as well under the casting supplies. They're pretty fun, and like I said, perfect for leftover resin. When you're pouring. Then you get, kind of a double dose. You can save some of that resin. And if you recast it, and what you do is you just recast this thing in a 1.5 inch PVC pipe. You just pop it in there, pour some, usually you go for like a transparent resin on top so you can see the burl part. So it's a super simple casting after the fact also. So anyway, let's get started here. Let me just double check and make sure I didn't miss anything here. Amazon order just arrived. Nice. Oh, thanks. Yeah, it took me a long time to make those. I had a kind of for like a handle blank kind of size thing. It was for square that I sold some of the chunks. I never sold the mold because I didn't like the mold that I made. But it took so much silicone that I didn't want to sell them because they were just going to be super expensive. These things, I finally found a nice piece of burl and cut it up. And, that's the problem is you got to get like that master thing that you're copying has to be kind of perfect. And I like the burl chunk that I used for those things. I thought it was pretty good. And those things, because they're cylinders, they don't require as much resin, or silicone. So let's see here. Oh, spring plants, man, it's January. Let's see here. I'm just scrolling up. And Jim, I need to pick a hotel. Yeah. Yep. I got my plans. I got my plane tickets. I'm all set. And so for anybody that doesn't know about that open house, I'm going to be doing a casting demo Friday. And I think what I'm going to be doing is kind of playing with Starlight glitter again. We're going to do a little bit more with the Starlight glitter. It should be a pretty fun demo. And then Saturday, I'm going to do kind of a turning demo, and it's also kind of focused on like how I finish pens. I'm not going to do like a CA finish, but just like the sanding and polishing steps that I do, because I do things a little bit different. And this isn't necessary. It's more of a kind of a local open house kind of thing. And so a lot of people take classes with Chad there in Phoenix, and so he does his finishing stuff, like polishing and all that stuff, one way. And so they were like, well, why don't you do a turning thing and like polishing, because it gives people a kind of a different view on another option kind of thing that's a little different. So I'm going to be doing those two, and then I still have the classes. I'm not sure if they filled those or not because it's going through the Turner's Warehouse website. But on that open house page, if you just scroll down, there's a link to where you can, you click on, it says Zach Higgins Casting Private One-on-One. Those are going to be on Monday, the 10th, I believe it is. So there's 2 classes on Monday that are open, that last I heard anyway. So if you wanted to do that, you can do one-on-one casting like lessons, which could be anything that you want to do basically. And the cool part about that is you get to actually take them. We cast, whatever together, whatever you want to do, and then you get to take it home. And worst case scenario, you have to wait for it to be demolded. Worst case scenario, they'll ship it, home or send it. You can pick it up the next day if you're local, whatever. It should be ready, that afternoon. And there's also another private one-on-one for the art of spindle turning with totally lost her name, Emily Ford. So her online stuff is She Turns Wood. She is really good. She does like really awesome captured ring stuff, and she's an amazing turner. So she's also got a one-on-one, or it's not one-on-one, I don't think. I'm not sure what it is. What is I think it's just like, I think it's like a very small class, but it's like, I think it's like 3 days long. Yeah, February 10 through 12. It's a 3-day seminar, open to everybody. And I'm not sure how many openings they actually have for that. So that's the deal with that. Let's see here. Treasure Maze. Well, I like to share information as well. Gators are ornery. I'm long gone. That's funny. All right, so let's do some casting. I'll shut up now. I don't think I have anything else to talk about. All right, so the way this is going to work, these molds hold 5 of these guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we'll do 2 batches, and we got 10. So that'll make 10 of these guys. So let's kind of pick a few of these cool things and try and make 2 batches. I don't want to have a bunch of the mermaid ones in the same batch, although I do have enough to do some in both if I wanted. We got some orange that we could do in both, either way. A little bit of orange. We got a couple reds. We got a couple of these guys. And we'll do that and that. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we don't need 2 of these things. 1, 2. That's kind of orangish, so let's toss that out. 1, 2, 3. That's kind of the same too. We got 5 there. And we got a mermaid. We got a blue and an orange. We got a kind of a gray. Actually, I think this is actually, I don't know what that is. It's kind of grayish. We got a red, and that'll be 5. Pretty awesome. So I'm going to set these guys aside. I don't think I really need to, well, I think what I'm going to do is, I kind of mixed them all up now. What am I doing here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. Okay, so I think I will toss these into the mold as we're preparing the resin. And you can just kind of put them in whichever way you want. I don't think it really matters necessarily. I haven't done this for a while, so I don't know, but I think that it'll fill up nicely. It'll be fine. Let's see here. Looking at my phone real quick to make sure I'm not missing anything. Nope. Okay. Put that aside, put the pen aside. I'm going to pop this in the oven here. Whoa. Calm down. Now, I got to remember, I want to say that those things take, those are 7/8. Let me just do a real quick calculation. There's 7/8. Let's just do 1 by 1 by 5 by 5. Yeah, so I think I'm just going to mix up. I'm going to estimate 100 grams per thing. I think that's more than I need, but then we'll have some resin to over pour. So that should be good. Got the camera. Let's see. The camera's kind of looking. Let's get that out of the way. Maybe that'll help. Things are looking a little dull there. I'm going to pop these guys and get this out of my way. So again, these are going to end up going in the Pen Blank Club boxes. So I'll make enough. I might need to make a few more Gator jaw things, but we should be good. So this month should be a pretty fun one for the Pen Blank Club. You're getting the Starlight ones. The kitless Starlight ones that we did a while ago, and there's the what did we do? Green, red, and blue, I think. And then a Gator jaw blank. That should be pretty cool. All right, so let me get before I start pouring, let's get the notebook out so we can take some notes here. Yeah, I know it's a Happy. That's why I was laughing. Happy Gilmore's hilarious. And we'll get my pen. So what's everybody working on in their shop? Any cool projects? Let me know. And so before I begin, also one thing that I wanted to mention, I'm going to switch to the serious cam. So if you do, so you can get Gator jaw. That's one thing that I haven't really mentioned. All of this stuff is obviously faux. It's resin Gator jaw that I've copied an actual Gator jaw in a silicone mold. And actually, I think we might pour. I'll just kind of show you how I pour them. It's not anything big, but I do need to make some, so I'll probably do one or probably maybe 2 of them, I guess. You can buy Gator jaw. It depends on, I don't exactly know where, like eBay maybe, things like that. I think if you just Google it, there's other like independent sources that sell random bone materials and things like that. Maybe Etsy. And I also think that some of the other, I don't want to say obscure, it's just I don't use them. Pen supplier, pen kit and stuff, pen and casting suppliers might have some of that stuff. I don't think Turner's Warehouse does. I'm actually going to go and search. I don't think they sell that. No, nothing comes up with Gator on their website, so I don't think that they sell it, but you can find it other places. And so you can do the, the real Gator jawbone, which if you're going for the novelty, that's probably what I would recommend. I don't really think that it's necessary to stabilize or do any of that kind of stuff. It's not really, it's hard already, so stabilizing it's not really going to do much. You can dye it. I was able to, in this pen, this kind of green, but it may be a little bit more difficult than a normal wood, because it's not, I don't think it's as porous. It's been a while since I actually worked with, and I only did it once, with real Gator jaw. The big thing is though, with any bone type material like that, you have to be a little bit like antler, bone, any of that stuff. It's got some nasty stuff in it, so when you're turning it, you definitely, and cutting it or sanding it, any of that kind of stuff, you definitely want to wear like a respirator, a full-on, real face mask kind of thing, that's going to protect you, not just like a dust mask kind of thing. Get something that's good, because you don't want to be breathing that dust. It's a little bit worse than just like wood dust. There's some stuff in it that's a little bit more kind of toxic, I guess. I don't exactly know. I can't remember exactly what's in it, but it's whatever it is, you don't want to be breathing it. Same thing goes with shell material. You don't want to be breathing that stuff, dust from it or anything like that, shavings. So just be a little bit careful, but it generally turns fine, especially if you're using carbide. It should, handle the bone just fine. And then if you want to, you can pick up some Gator jaw bone and then just make a silicone mold of it. The hardest part about that for me was trying to kind of get it up off the bottom of the like mold thing, so that it would be kind of you need to kind of suspend it in the air. So what I did was I actually just used a little bit of dowel, glued it onto it, and then just that gave it a little bit of room up and gave me like a pour spout. So it's not that hard to do. You could also do it vertically, like in just like a cup or a pipe. That worked as well for me. So they're not that difficult. It's more than I want to deal with for like making and selling. I don't really want to sell them and make a bunch of them. I was happy with making a couple for myself. So let's see here. How long should we let liquid diamond set prior to turning it? Liquid, I haven't used it for a while. Pretty much, I think you need to leave it in the pressure pot like 8 hours or so. And then I would probably wait a few days minimum. The way that epoxy works, so one of the advantages to Alumilite Clear or Clear Slow, it's a urethane. And urethanes, the way that they cure, think of it like an exponential curve. Like it gets really hard, like in 24 hours, and then it kind of keeps curing over the next 5 days or whatever, but it's kind of, it zooms up and then it just kind of keeps going. Epoxy is more like a straight curve. Like it just, every day it gets equally more cured. So in that case, you may want to just wait the 5 or 7 days, whatever they recommend. Any I don't know what they say on their website in the instructions, but it's probably going to be somewhere between 5 and 7 to get full cure. I mean, that's probably the best way to go. I'm sure you could turn it, earlier than that, but where things really kind of come into play with the waiting to turn something, it's more the polishing, because the more cured, like when it's fully cured, that's going to be the hardest that it gets, and that'll make it easier. It'll be easiest to polish the harder it is. Turning it should be okay. In some cases, if it's too soft, I mean, it can be kind of wobbly and like bend almost, especially if it gets kind of warm. So I would probably wait at least like 3 days to turn liquid diamonds. It kind of depends on how big the blank is too, how hot it was. I think if you poured like a brick, it would probably cure faster overall than compared to like a vertical, just a pen, like PVC pipes or like a 3/4 inch vertical mold. That's a lot less resin, and it's just not going to heat up as much. Now, one way you could speed things up is you can do what's called a post cure. And what I would do is, I need to get into this because it would make my life a little bit easier sometimes. basically you would cast your blanks, you know, and then once they're ready to be taken out of the pressure pot, what you would do is you would take your mold, don't demold them, and then pop them in the oven. And each resin manufacturer may have recommended guidelines on post-curing. I think typically if you just leave it in the oven at like 185 Fahrenheit for like 5 to 10 hours, somewhere in there. There's different things, like I said. If you're using a specific resin, I would just contact the manufacturer and ask them what they recommend for a post-cure, but then it's done, basically. However, you know, once that 8 or 10 hours in the oven is done, like they're cured fully. So that's one way you can kind of get around some of that stuff. Even if you did it for like 3 hours or something like that, it would cure faster. Now, the thing is, don't do that. Don't take them out of the mold and then stick them in the oven, because what they're going to do is like melt, kind of like they get softer, and they're going to be like deformed. So leave them in the mold, put that whole thing in the oven, and then you know, like I said, I would just recommend contacting the manufacturer of the resin just to find out what they say. I believe that, like for Alumilite, I don't think it matters that much. I don't think it's like a huge deal. But there is ranges in temperatures. I think that 185 is a pretty decent temperature for most resins. And then it just depends, you know, how many hours. So that's one way to kind of get around it if you wanted to do that. It's something that I want to start doing. It's just I don't really have... I'd really like to get a dedicated oven for doing that. It would make things a lot faster. You know, if I make a batch of blanks, especially the verticals, again, less resin and it's cold in the shop, it's going to take a little bit longer to cure. So if I make blanks today, I can't ship them for 5 days. So inventory can kind of be a little bit more difficult. But if I just post-cure stuff, it would be a lot faster to just get them out. So let's see here. Dances with our routing spirograph patterns. That's cool. Oh, yeah, it might be Waterboy, actually. Quote. Let's see here. Jennifer's here. How's it going? You're not late. I'm still talking. So, all right, so let's go to the overhead view here. And let's write some stuff down. So the big question is, what color am I going to do? I want to just go with one, you know, probably like a single, maybe 2 colors. And I've got a bunch of different colors in here, right? So this is kind of similar. Both batches are going to be similar to this color thing that's going on here. I don't think I have like a black one in this first batch. So the other ones, the first batch is in the oven, and I put the little gator jaws in the mold right now. It's a little bit lighter colors. So like it would be like these plus a blue and white one. So let's go for like we could go for like a slightly darker or more vibrant color. I would go for lighter, considering we have the black here. We really want to accentuate these tooth holes. So if you can go for some sort of a contrasting color, that's kind of the way to go. So let's think about what we could do. I'm trying to think what might be the best color to go with. You know, like white pearl is not bad, but considering that normal gator jawbone is like bone colored white, I don't know if you really want to go with just stark white. You might want to go for something a little bit different. So let's see here. I'm trying to think what color here. Lime green might be kind of cool, especially with this black one. Like a pinkish color would really go good with the mermaids. Or like a purple even. There's purple in it, I guess. It's tough, you know? I think you're probably better off going with similar colors for all your jawbones, and then you can kind of pick, you know, the resin color that you're casting a little bit around it. You know, like blacks and whites go really well with lots of color in whatever you're casting. So that's kind of the easy way. But I think I want to just do one color to create the the difference between the jawbone part and the resin. So one thing we could do, we could go for like bronze or something like that. That would maybe be kind of cool. Bronze, dark blue. Let's go for no-con. Let's go for dark blue around these, these ones. We'll go with dark blue. I think that'll work with all of these colors. For the other one, let's go with, well, just looking in here, what do we got? What do we got? We could also go with like a pigment, a dye color. Gray or silver might be kind of cool. There are some silver ones that we got though already. Silverish. We could even go with like interference colors. I don't really want to go with clear because then you're just going to have to cover that up in the, because these are going to be more, these aren't going to be for, I would doubt that somebody's going to make a, you could make a kitless pen out of this, but I have a feeling because you're only getting one, it's a little bit less likely, and I'd rather just cover things up and make it dark, or you know, not transparent basically. That's just my personal thing. The problem that I have with like transparent see-through stuff with pen with like kit pens is it's gonna change the way the blank looks, kind of. This might be kind of cool though. I don't know. Actually, okay, so let's do that on one batch, and then I'll turn that one, and that way we can kind of see. So we're gonna go with no-con on this one, so we don't need to worry about that. Let's go for like more transparent on the other batch and see what that looks like. We have a kind of a blue and white one. So I think what I want to do is go with, it's going to be kind of tough to pick a color because these are all different. I'm having a tough time today. Yeah, teal might not be a bad way to go actually. Oh, that's good to hear, Jennifer. I'm doing pretty good. I don't know. Actually, I think teal would go pretty well with most of those other colors. I kind of like that idea. How about this? Instead, I don't really want to, I don't really want to deal with painting the inside of the tube and all that kind of stuff. So let's go with Conch Aqua from Divine Pigments. I don't think that I have any that I've made that would work. I definitely don't have enough of my own colors. Let's see, do I have any other pigments that I've kind of come up with? Not really. Nothing that I consider to be particularly special. So let's try the Conch Aqua. I think that might be kind of cool. So we'll do that. Let's put these guys away. I don't know. We'll just have to see how this goes. So number one, we're going to go with, let's see here. So 100 grams per slot equals 500 grams of resin total. And then I think we'll just go with the one color. Might even add a little bit of micro starlight to this and just see if that kind of adds a little bit of sparkle to it. So we're going to go with Conch Aqua. And how much do I need? Let's see here. I'm going to try 4 grams, see how that does. Let's see how much is that. Yeah, let's see what 4 grams looks like, and then I'm going to add micro starlight. just to kind of see what happens. One thing that I want to figure out if I do start making pigments and selling them is how to, you can add a little bit of sparkle to these things sometimes, and I'm not sure exactly what the best product to add to it would be, so we'll check that out. Oh yeah, gold would be pretty cool. That's not a bad way to go. Gold or silver. There is the silver one in there. Bronze really might be pretty awesome too, but let's just see what aqua does. Let's figure this out. Let's just go for it. Get me some micro starlight. See if that adds anything to these, to the aqua. Might get kind of washed out a little bit, but we might add a little bit of sparkle. It might be kind of cool. We're trying new things, you know? We're just testing things out, testing the waters. I need 250 grams of part A. Okay. And 250 of part B. Oh, let's zero it out. All right. Mix it up good. I don't know of anybody that sells molds for the Gator jaws. Like I said, I'm really not interested in making them. They're not fun to make. I mean, they're fine. It's not like they were super difficult. It's just for me to sell them. The process to create each one is not some. It would waste more time than I'm willing to do. You could probably have Philip Danner might make one for you. Probably going to cost a good amount of money, but he might do it. I don't know for sure, but if you contact him, I think you can contact him through his website, possibly, because he's got like a custom order form. You could also just try and hit him up on Instagram, but you might try him. He does excellent silicone molds. You might have to supply the Gator jaw, possibly send it to him to have him copy it, but he might do that. I mean, heck, you probably could find somebody on Fiverr to do it for you. Something like that. All right, so we're going to add 4 grams of this conch aqua. It's going to end up kind of looking like the reverse of my other, the pen that I showed you, because it had kind of teal in it. Huh. I don't know. I'm kind of having second thoughts now, but I think it's going to be kind of cool looking. I think the problem is there's so many different colored jawbones that, this might look better with some of them. Maybe not as good with another one. I don't know. All right, so we got 4 grams. I'm just going to kind of look at this because I want it to be solid. Oh yeah, that's plenty. Plenty of, some of these, like divine pigments and liquid pigments, some of them can be quite a bit more transparent than others. So sometimes you got to kind of, if you're going for opaque, definitely, try it out and see. The ones that are on the more transparent side, you're probably going to have to go up to like 2 to 3% of the total amount of resin that's in the cup. I don't know what the upper limit is. If I ever do start selling pigments, I'm going to try and figure out like, and it probably isn't going to be like an absolute number for every type of pigment, you know. But I'd like to do some experiments to see like, okay, at what point does this like cause a problem, you know, with curing? Because that's the thing, is you can only add so much like dye and other types of things because they have other like materials in them. They have something that makes them the liquid, whatever, I don't know what it is exactly. But there's something in there, and if you put too much of it in your resin, it can cause a problem with the curing. So I'm putting an 1/8 teaspoon of the micro starlight, which might be a little bit much, I don't know. We'll have to kind of see. I'm not sure if this is totally going to show up or not. Kind of. I mean, I don't know. We'll have to see when it... Yeah, it's kind of sparkly. Just adding a little bit of sparkle to it. You can do a lot of different random stuff with the micro starlight. It's a good glitter to have, you know. Another way you can go is, you know, if I wanted this to be pearly, an easy way to do that is to just add like a white pearl. Like this Snow White is probably a good option from P-Town Subby. In fact, I actually really like this. This is a really good like white. And oh god, drop the lid, contaminating everything. In fact, I actually like one of my favorite colors to go for like a pearl, like really looking like a real pearl look, is micro pearl from Pearlex. Or another way to go is let's see, do I have it? There's another one that's pretty good from Eye Candy that's very similar to this micro pearl. What is that one called? I can't think of the name of that one. Maybe just I can't remember the name of that one, but this one's actually pretty good. It's like in the middle, like the micro pearl it's like almost like flour consistency. It's not like a normal mica powder. It's like a very fine powder. This is almost in the middle. Like it's a mica powder, but it also is pretty fine, and it gives you a really good looking pearl, like very similar to the micro pearl. The problem with the micro pearl is it's so clumpy that it can take longer to mix in, and it's kind of a pain. So I don't want to wait too long, because this is just one color. There's no reason to sit here and wait forever. I'd like it. There's two problems. So on one hand, you definitely want to pour it when it's thinner viscosity, because it needs to flow in and around those like tooth holes and all that stuff. You don't want to pour this when it's like super thick. I think some people think that there's some magic number that you need to that just pouring the resin, regardless of what you're doing, you know, you have to wait for some temperature, and that's absolutely not the case. Get that thing flipped around. My OCD kicked in. The reason we're waiting is to thicken the resin up when you're pouring different colors together, so they don't just bleed together. When it's thicker, it won't just like disperse and bleed. The other reason would be if you're, you know, putting like heavier like glitters and things in there, they would just sink. So you want it thicker. If you're pouring like one color or clear or whatever, there's pretty much no reason to sit and wait for it to hit some magic temperature. The magic temperature is pour it right now, you know, move on. So for like one color pours and things like that, you know, I want to make sure most people, there's a lot of people that I think don't fully understand they've just heard that, you know, you have to wait to pour the resin for pen blanks, and that's not the case at all. Sometimes, you know, use the best form of the resin, you know. So if you're mixing colors, then you would definitely want to wait for a thicker point. But if you're trying to make it flow in and around stuff, then thinner viscosity is actually better. The one thing that I would say is if we were doing if this was like a mica powder, so like on the no-con, on the next round, I'm probably going to wait a little bit longer, because when you, even if it's just one color, so now I'm gonna completely, well, that's gonna be kind of cool. I like these colors together. I'm gonna totally contradict what I just said, but when you've got mica powders, I find that if you wait until the resin thickens up a little bit more, like not just pour it right away after you've mixed in the mica. If you wait just, oh wow, we way overshot. I could get both of those batches knocked out with this, wow. But there is a little bit of the glitter you can see on the top. I don't know if that's gonna come through when you turn it or not, but anyway, with mica powders, sometimes you can get a little bit more like action in that one color if you wait for the resin to kind of thicken up and maybe give it a little bit of a stir. Otherwise, what ends up happening is like all the mica powders just kind of settle in like the same orientation, and you don't get as much shimmer, kind of, I find. So I don't know if that made sense. I'm kind of contradicting myself here and there, but in this case, like this single color with just the liquid pigment, it's not, there's no pearliness to it. I mean, I know that there's some glitter in here and, you know, whatever, but there's no advantage to waiting for anything with this. That would be the same with like a clear, but with mica powders, even if it's one color, sometimes you can kind of wait just a little bit and then give it a little swirl. Or another way to do it would be to like pour the mica powder resin in quickly while it's pretty thin. Let it kind of soak in, you know, get into those little holes and all that kind of stuff. Another thing you might want to do is just kind of move these doohickeys around a little bit, just to kind of, just in case there was like a kind of an air bubble or something blocking the way. But another strategy, like I said, for if it's a mica powder, one color, pour it right away, let it kind of get, you know, be thin and get into all those little nooks and crannies. Then, but don't put it in the pressure pot right away. Grab yourself like a little stir stick, or even, you know, whatever, a toothpick, something. I would probably go with something like this, and just kind of try and stir it around a little bit. And that'll give you a little bit more, well, like once it's kind of thickened up just a little bit. You don't want to wait too long, but you can add a little bit of flair. This is also kind of important if you're doing like river tables and stuff. If you just, because that resin that they use is, you know, most of the time you're talking like, sometimes it'll be like open, you know, like not setting up for like days, like 24 hours or more in some cases. And so if you've got mica powder in there, it's just going to kind of settle and look kind of dull. So a lot of times they'll come back after, you know, some number of hours and give it a little bit of a swirl, just to kind of bring that mica powder back to life. Add a little bit of kind of shimmer to it in different looks. Okay, so we got that done. So we got a lot of resin left. So I'm gonna do a little bit of that. I think I'm just gonna fill. I got so much of this. I'm gonna fill this and finish it off. And then I've got another one that we can start. So I'm gonna kind of angle at that. I'm not gonna pour that much in this one. I like to do just little bits. So that's pretty much all I want to do. I'm engineering this burl, so I don't know if you guys can see. It's kind of halfway in there. Turn it around the right way. So you can imagine, you know, the next color that I pour is going to kind of cover the rest of that other side of the burl. So that's kind of fun. So I like to kind of, when I'm making these things, kind of engineer them, you know, pour little bits on angles and stuff like that, and it makes for a little bit more interesting faux burl. So since we have so much of this stuff left over, we're going to make some gator jaws out of this teal. So these are the molds that I made. They're pretty ugly looking, but they work. and I was actually, it's amazing how much detail and everything the silicone can provide. So I'm just going to fill up these two. So we're going to have some teal gator jaws, and I'll recast these down the road once they're, cured. So the way that I do this, and this is just kind of a tip for anything that's like this. This mold, there's not much room inside here, and there's lots of little details and things, right? And so what I like to do is I like to kind of squeeze this and just kind of move it around so that the resin kind of settles down into all the little nooks and crannies. And sometimes it'll look like you filled it up, and then if you just kind of wiggle it and move it, the level will drop. So on a mold that's kind of intricate like this, with like a lot of intricate details, really kind of squish it around. What does Steve McDonald say? Give it a squidgy widgy, something like that. And it's true, just kind of squeeze it, move it around. And the other thing is you see that there's like a pretty big hole on the top. What I like with that is I want to overfill it basically. That way I don't underfill, if you've got a little bit of extra on that top, even if air bubbles kind of pop and whatever, and the level kind of goes down as it fills into crevices, if you've kind of overfilled it, and you sometimes when you're building a mold, you need to kind of you need to add that, in like an extra little area for that resin to kind of pool up. Give it a squidgy widgy. Sometimes it can take a little while to get it totally filled up. So you might also, if you're making these things, factor that in as well. You can do, obviously the ones that we cast today were all pretty much multicolored. So you can just, the way I do it, I just pour one color, same as I do for like pen blanks. You can pour as many colors as you want together and get a kind of a wicked looking gator jaw with lots of color. And you could pressurize this if you want. The surface is pretty rough anyway, and I don't know that you really need to. I mean, I don't usually. So I'm going to set these guys aside and I'm actually going to just pop them onto the oven. That'll also kind of help it cure. I have a vertical one. I have no clue how well this works. Do I have anything else that I can cast here? What is this? It looks like a little rock. Oh, I just stuck it in resin. Is that a little rock chunk? That might be kind of fun to... These little rock chunk molds, we can make little turquoise rock chunks. But I've got a vertical. This is also a gator jaw. I have no clue how this one works, if it works very well, because I haven't used it yet since I made it. Well, I probably used it at some point, but I haven't, on this round of making these things, I haven't used this one. Hopefully it works okay. I don't know. I think it was a little bit easier to make this mold in the vertical orientation. I don't think I needed to necessarily, and I should probably grab a rubber band. I thought I had some. Yeah. Whoa. Because I've got a cut that goes all the way down the side of this thing. I don't know. I don't think it's going to matter that much. I'll just kind of set that aside. It looks like it's full. And we can make some little rock chunk things. I don't know what these are. These are little gems or something. I don't know. We can recast these at some point. Resin's starting to get pretty thick. I like way overdid it on this. So I think we probably could have made, I don't know, poured like 80 grams each. Who even knows? I'm making a mess now. I don't think I'm going to get it in this one. All right, well, I'm going to pull this out. This is that old mold that I had mentioned. I just don't want to, there's so much resin. I don't want to waste it all, you know? Okay. We got a lot of things out of that. All right, sorry guys, I had to kind of pay attention there to what I was doing and come up with some solutions so I didn't waste. Did I like, yeah, it was too, I feel like I did the calculation completely wrong or something like that. Huh. Anyway, so what do you guys think about that? We did all kinds of good stuff there. All right, I didn't miss anything, I don't think. I found when you mix 2 cups with both part... Oh, that's a good one, Jim. Yep, the wait time is not a big deal then. Same goes for both part A as well. I totally did that once. How did that work? And I like totally complained to Alumilite, telling them that the resin didn't work or something. And then I realized I was trying to mix part. How did that work? It was so weird. I think what I might have done was, so I buy Alumilite white and clear, and I think that I opened up both, the carboys, and I think what I was doing was mixing the Alumilite white part A with Alumilite clear part A, and then the part B's or something like that, and it was like the wrong resins. They weren't the same resins anyway, and the Alumilite clear, or the white, immediately foamed up, and it was crazy. It was not good, not a very good thing. And I'm like, hey, Alumilite, this stuff's not working. And they're like, did you do it right? And I realized I didn't. So that was a terrible story, but it was similar to what you were talking about. All right, so on the next one, we're going to do no-con blue. That should be a little bit easier, but I'll show you what I mean with the timing kind of things on using mica powder, and hopefully it'll kind of show you. No-con's a little bit, I would say that this may be a little bit more important with some of the lighter micas, maybe. The more pearly looking ones. But sometimes I just feel like if you don't kind of give it a little bit of a stir, if it's just like one color of mica powder that you're making, it just looks kind of dull. Like it's pearly, but there's no like differences. You can almost get little swirls in there. And I think what's happening is, there's little particles of color basically that reflect or refract light. And I think what ends up happening is they all tend to just kind of settle the same direction if you don't stir it up. And so it's not a bad idea to, like I said, if this may be a little bit more like if you were just going to do like a brick or, a line of blanks with just like one color of mica. Let's say you wanted to just make some gold blanks. I think that's a really good one. You might do that, but if all you do is you just pour the gold in there like right away, I think what happens is like the particles of mica in the resin just kind of all hang out in like the same orientation, and so you just get the same shimmer from all the particles. Whereas if you kind of wait a little bit to where it kind of warms up and thickens, if you give it a little bit of a swirl, then you've got particles in like different directions, and you kind of get a more, there's more to it, it seems like. I don't know how else to explain that. So let's see here. We're going to toss our, I'm going to do this. I'm going to just toss all these little guys in here. And you could put them up. Let's try putting them up. I don't know. Oh, that didn't really work. Let's see what happens if you put them up. I don't know. I would think that down is maybe a little bit better, but let's see what happens. Oh. Yeah. Let's give it a shot. Like I said, I don't have a whole lot of experience doing gator jaw specifically. All right, so let's do number 2. So it seems like 100 grams per slot is like way too much. How did I screw up that measurement? I mean, how long are these slots? I just want to look at what I did there. Yeah, they are 5.5. Huh. Yeah, I think I just overshot it a lot. Let's try 80. That's still probably going to be too much. Yeah, let's do 80. And let's see here. So that's, how much is that? 400? Yeah, 100 grams. Okay, so this time we're going to do no-con blue. And we'll do, let's see here. I'm going to try a teaspoon. I may add more. We'll just have to see how I feel about the no-con. All right, so that'll be, again, pretty simple casting. Not a lot going on. It's not going to be too difficult or anything like that. So let me get, let's see, 400 grams. Get a big cup here. Get that thing going, and let's do it. I consider, oh, good call. That's what it is. That's right. Okay, so yes. I was like, what is going on here? I was like way off on that one. Okay, so let's yeah, I didn't account for that. I don't know what I was thinking. I haven't cast something for a while like this. Let's try I still think that I think that 100 grams per slot is still too much anyway. Let's do, yeah, okay, so that was wrong. Let's see what 60. That'll be like 300 grams. I'm gonna see what 1 teaspoon looks like in that. Yeah, good call. Good call. I was like, why is that? That was like way off. Like not even close kind of thing. All right. So I'm going to put that pen over there so I don't get it resiny. Let's try 300. Let's see what that does. What do you guys think? Yeah, I wasn't even thinking. Okay, so let's get that out of the way. So, and actually, I don't even need this giant cup either for this now. 300, I'm just going to use this smaller cup. That'll work just fine. And I can just... I'm going to do 150 part A and 150 part B. I love me a good 1-to-1 ratio. So always make sure you understand, I haven't mentioned this on the stream for a while. There might be people, newer people to casting that haven't heard this before, but a lot of times people see me using, quote unquote, Alumilite, and then they go buy an Alumilite product, but it may not be the same, clear, slow. A big one that people get, because you can buy this at like Hobby Lobby. Yeah, like the Amazing Clear Cast. Let's lose the plus because I don't think they have the plus, but Amazing Clear Cast is available at Hobby Lobby, and so but they see it says Alumilite, and so they just assume it's the same thing that I'm using, and it's not. And it even looks, it's like the same kind of, 2 gallons sometimes or whatever. But the thing is, that's an epoxy, and it's a volume measurement. So it's 1-to-1, but it's by volume. Clear Slow is 1-to-1 by weight. So what happens is they buy Amazing Clear Cast, pull out their scale, mix it 1-to-1, and it doesn't cure properly. They're like, what happened? And so just be aware, even though you think you might have bought the same exact thing or whatever, it's not a bad idea just to read the instructions for the resin that you buy, just to double check. And if it says volume, then what you're going to need to do is have like a volumetric, cup measurement, and you're going to put equal parts of volume in there. If it's by weight, then you have to use a scale. You can't use the volume type measurement. And the reason being, it's just the weights are different. It's they didn't calculate it by weight. One of the parts basically weighs more, has like a higher or lower or whatever specific gravity or mass. I'm not sure what the right term is, but basically the A and the B don't have the same exact weight calculation to them per, ounce or whatever, which Alumilite Clear Slow doesn't. The part B is heavier than part A, so when you get your jugs, there's going to be less part B in the jug, and people freak out about that too. Your gallon jugs or whatever size, the B is lower than the A, but it's because the B is heavier, and you're measuring it out by weight. Hopefully that made sense. Okay, I think I mixed that to death. Let's get some no-con. I'm going to put, like I said, 1 teaspoon in. Let's just see. I think that's probably going to be plenty. No-con tends to be pretty opaque. which is what I'm going for. Yeah, that should be good. I think Nokon's probably my favorite dark blue mica. It's just really, it's one of the best mica colors out there, I think. And if you want to add a little bit more spice to it, you could even add a little bit of blue dye from Alumilite. I know this doesn't look like anything, but it's filled with this. I just use my own little 1 ounce bottles and buy the 16 ounce. So it's Alumilite's translucent blue. That can even add a little bit darker kind of blue to it. Just depends on what you want. It's not significantly different, so you don't need to go rush out and buy blue dye or anything, but if you've got Alumilite dyes, you know, you can kind of play around with that. You can always mix, you know, dyes or even the opaque pigments together. The problem with the opaque ones like Divine Pigments is if you add that to a mica, if you put too much in there, it's going to kill the mica side of things. The pearliness, it's going to cover it up because it's opaque. And micas need light transference to, you know, reflection to work. Okay, now for this one, I'm probably going to pour, well, we can pour it right away if we wanted to, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually do temperature stuff, and I'm going to probably go try to get around like 90, 85 Fahrenheit, 90 Fahrenheit, somewhere around there. And just try to kind of, you know, wait till it's a little bit thicker than like the last time. Let's see, a second there. It's just a waiting game now. And like I said, we could pour this right now and then just kind of put a stick in there and kind of stir it up later as well. But where's my temperature gauge? We're at about 80 right now. And these numbers, you know, are going to depend on what temperature it is in your shop and all kinds of different stuff. Oh, this mold is kind of leaking. That's the one drawback to that vertical one. Really, probably kind of need like an actual, like, I probably poured that in like a 1.5 inch PVC pipe, and really probably would have been better to have like a PVC pipe, you know, kind of grabbing onto this mold. Luckily, Alumilite Clear sets up fast, so I'm not particularly worried about it. If I had poured like epoxy in there and it's like, you know, in a liquid state for hours kind of thing, this could be problematic. This will set up pretty quickly here. Just gonna wrap a thing around there. Luckily, Gator jaws, like, it's not like they need to come out perfect. You know, again, for things that you're going to just toss in another batch of resin and then turn, they generally don't need to be particularly perfect for these copies. Now, if you're trying to recreate something, you know, like prop makers and stuff, they're, you know, when they take things out of their molds, like, it has to be like perfect. So that's a different story. But for us, you know, the faux burls, they don't need to be perfect at all. So I think I'm going to pour this at about 85. And I may just kind of keep my eyes on it and give it a little bit of a stir after that if I feel like it's necessary. I'm just trying a couple different ways of doing this. Oh. Pouring just in one spot and letting it kind of flow up might not be a bad way to go. Actually, you know what? I don't think I want these things facing up because we're going to cut that off more. So I think I'm actually going to flip these. I think you're probably better off. Well, I don't know. I guess I don't know if it matters. Sideways is really what I want. Like if you can get it as much sideways as possible. May or may not be possible. I just feel like I'm probably going to cut off more on the top, so I think I'd rather have these things kind of... I don't tend to cut as much off the bottom of my blanks, but I usually do trim off the top. So I think we'll just flip it. And this way you can just kind of pour the resin in there and it's just going to flow up into those holes, I think a little better. So that would be my recommendation, I think. See if I poured enough resin. Oh. I don't know. Ooh, this one's going to be close. I think these are much deeper than they need to be, these molds. Wow, that was like dead on perfect. So I'm not that worried, but ooh, we're definitely not going to have any leftovers, although I have nowhere to pour it at this point. I don't know. I think those will look pretty cool. I think both batches really will, actually. So, and the tough thing is to get an accurate reading at this point. The mold is hot because it was in the oven. So I don't know. This is where things kind of break down with the way that I do things. When I'm taking a temperature, I like to stir up the resin first. That makes it a little bit more even throughout the cup. Then I take a temperature. So that's the way that I do it. But the problem with doing that is then I can't really stir it up if I do something like this. Although that resin is not moving, so I think I'm good. What you'll find is, I don't know if you guys can see the tops of these things. I'm going to try to zoom in. See how there's like little weird lines? If the resin is just flowing out, if you've poured it like at a low temperature and it's super thin, it'll just have just the same color on the top surface, where this is not moving much. So I actually feel like I'm not going to mess around. I think we can just pop this in the pressure pot and we'll be good to go. I usually like to put things on like a little surface, because the one thing about these molds, they do have little grooves, but it's still kind of hard to pick, and it's kind of slippery, so you don't want to drop it. I like to put things on a, can you see? Oh, you can't see that. On a little, I don't know, something. It's just a little piece of HDPE. That way I can get my fingers under it. If you've ever like dropped a mold as you're putting it into the pressure pot, it's not fun. So just having a little platform to raise it up is kind of nice. Okay, and then we'll hit it with pressure. And for anybody that might have been questioning it, so these guys will stay in the pressure pots for 4 hours. I feel like I should be able to demold them after 4 hours, no problem. But again, this is whatever resin you're using, it's all going to kind of be different. So that's for my temperature in my shop and using Alumilite Clear Slow. Most things 4 hours are good. I actually find for these pen blanks, they're just kind of smaller amounts of resin and kind of spread out. And there's a good amount of division between them with the silicone, which kind of absorbs some of the heat. I find that I like to leave those things like a vertical 3/4 inch, pen blank honestly, I usually leave them in overnight. They're ready for sure, and they demold a little bit easier, I find. For these things, they're a little bit larger mass, and they're kind of a little bit closer together, in one big chunk. And so 4 hours is going to be plenty for these ones. Definitely, like 2 hours for a big brick like this is plenty, I usually think. A lot of times for like a 1.5 inch PVC pipe, if you're doing like a handle or something, or if you're recasting the faux burls, I don't know, again, depending on the temperature in your shop, but as long as it's somewhere around room temperature, like around 70, 2 to 4 hours with Alumilite clear slow is plenty. If you're doing like epoxies, liquid diamonds, that amazing clear cast, like Total Boat, those things pretty much overnight. I think it's like 8 hours, but a lot of, for all these different sizes, I would just put it in, leave it overnight, and they should be good the next day. Some of them though, may take even longer than that. So if you ever use Alumilite's deep pour for this type of stuff, which it's a really good resin, but the thing is, its working time alone, and this is why I like it, sometimes I use it for certain things, it's got a 2 hour working time. So which means like it doesn't set up for 2 hours, like minimum. And so that gives you a ton of working time. If you ever do micarta, where you're stacking layers of stuff, and other things that really require you to kind of have a lot of time, that's a really good resin, and it turns extremely well, polishes well. It's very similar to Alumilite Clear Slow. But the thing is, if you, at that point, like I make a batch of like stoppers, even if I use the Jake Blank's like 14 mold thing, but if I make stoppers like this, I got to leave it in the pressure pot for 2 days. Otherwise, it hasn't set up fully even after the first, like overnight. So it's minimum 24 hours. Really, it's kind of, and even the directions say like 48 hours. So just be aware, like, understand, again, this is why like the first thing you need to do is just read the directions for the resin you're using, just to make sure you understand what it is. And so, sometimes, especially like with the deep pour, that's a little bit more of like a what do they call it? Like a, making like a slab table, like the river tables and stuff like that. Those things oftentimes are going to have a really long working time. And a lot of times like the casting epoxies, like tabletop epoxies, because that would be like amazing clear cast. The things that are pretty thick, they're more made for like coating tables and things like that, or like epoxy art. They'll talk about like tack-free time, because a lot of times you're just pouring it on something and letting it sit on the surface. So tack-free time, that would be a little bit more for that type of use, but that can be a useful piece of information in the instructions to kind of get an idea of how long is it really going to take to set up. Full cure usually is going to be like 5 to 7 days for most types of resins. And that just means like it's already hardened, but it continues curing for days. That's to reach its full hardness. If they have a demold time listed, that's the thing that's probably going to be your pressure pot time around there. So just a couple little random things for some of the newbies that might not really fully understand some of the terms and like, okay, how long do I need to leave this thing in the pressure pot? Another pressure pot thing, my pressure pots, these, can you see? Well, can't. What's happening here? I'm gonna kind of. Oh, I'm gonna drop this camera. Okay, so those pressure pots over there, those ones are CA Technologies, and they have a max working pressure of, I want to say it's, what does it say? It says on the top. I think it's 80. Max working pressure of 80 PSI. I don't go over 70 PSI in those. And then the other one, yeah, you can see it on here. This guy, which is probably the one that I would recommend people buy. The CA Technologies pots are super expensive and not worth the price. They were back in the day because there was nothing particularly good that was comparable. But now the California Air Tools 2.5 gallon pot or 5 gallon, either one. They're reasonably priced, and they come in the box ready to go. Like, there's no messing around with plumbing and other junk. They literally, you take it out and it can be used. The only thing you have to do is just set the regulator, but it takes 2 seconds, like it's and no tools kind of thing. So these things are excellent, and the max working pressure of these guys, oh, it does say, oh no, max operating is what it says. Max operating pressure is 60, and I go to 60 in that one. You definitely don't want to go over 80. You could maybe go to 70. There's no real advantage to going to 70 versus 60, I don't think. So if you get the California Air Tools one, just take it up to 60 and that's it. Set your regulator to 60 and you're good to go. So let's see here. Do I have a couple filters? Do you have a couple filters on your airline? Oh, I'm sorry. I was like airline. Airline. Yes, we actually have two. There's, yeah, I've got one actually right here. I have an inline filter right before my pressure pots. And I can see if there's any moisture or anything going on. So that keeps me from getting that. And then we have like a big filter right next to, right just outside of the full, because we have like an 80 or 100 gallon, air compressor that services like the entire shop. So we have like it's a filter. There's like more to it. It's like a big unit it does a couple different like filtering things. So definitely a good thing to have, especially if you're in a moisture, like a high humidity area. You gotta put filters on your lines, because what happens is if you blow a bunch of water, if you got water in your line and you blow it into your pressure pot, you're gonna have issues. Like it'll bubble up and do stuff. You're gonna have some serious problems, especially if you're using Alumilite clear or clear slow. Any urethane epoxy, or sorry, that was any urethane resin, not epoxy, but epoxy can be a little bit moisture sensitive, but urethanes hate moisture. Like if you get any kind of moisture, like some people, like if you live in Florida, I know some people that live in Florida, you can imagine like the humidity level there in the summer is like ridiculous, right? They can't cast. Like unless you have active, dehumidifying going on and air conditioning and all that kind of stuff to get the humidity out of the air, it will start reacting as you're mixing it in some cases. So, always have a filter on your line. You don't want to be blowing, air, water or other junk into your pressure pot when you're casting. So good call. No, it's not like a dryer. I guess it's probably just a filter, I guess. It's just much more complicated than that little inline. But I highly recommend, the little inline filters are cheap. And so, I think for most people, a lot of people may not have like an 80 gallon, huge thing. Like you might have one of those kind of smaller pancake kind of things. If you had one of these inline filters, I think that should be plenty for most people. The other thing is, especially if you're in a high humidity area, and this is just a good recommendation no matter what, but you'll have a little ball valve somewhere under your pressure tank. Every once in a while, like once a month, if you're maybe in like the summer and it's really high humidity, maybe once a week, just open that little ball valve thing and it'll release any moisture that may accumulate in your tank. It's a good idea to do regardless of casting and blowing air out of your line, just because if you've got moisture sitting in a tank forever, like if you never release it, it can start rusting your tank out, which is going to cause it to fail. So that's for your compressor tank. But it's good to just blow that out. Then you don't have to worry about your filters doing too much. But definitely put a filter on your line. Absolutely, you need to do that. The other thing is, if you do get a problem, this is another reason why I really stress having a filter on the line. If you have a reaction, some kind of weird problem with your resin, or you're casting, you pull it out and there's like a bunch of air bubble, like bubbly stuff, and it's obviously the the cure had some kind of a problem, right? The thing is, if you didn't have any airlines, or I mean air filters on your airline, then who knows if, let's say that, we were talking earlier about how much of this pigment can I put into my, what's the maximum amount? Let's say you put like 5 or 6% of a pigment in your resin, but you don't have, filters on your airline. Like, was it the pigment that maybe I put too much pigment in, or was there moisture in the line, or, maybe something else? So all the things that you can do to remove a possible problem, that could cause an issue with your resin, definitely take it. If it's like a simple thing, like, and pretty cheap, like just adding an inline filter, definitely do that. That way it'll eliminate, like, you're not like, oh, was there moisture in the line? No, because I got a filter, it'll block that stuff out. So anyway, guys, I'm looking forward to pulling these things out. So next week I'll pull one of these out. I'm not sure which one. I think I want to do one of the Conch Aqua ones, just because I'm very curious to see how that works. I may pull the one that I'm like, I don't know if that's really going to go that well. I'll have to try and remember which ones, we cast, I guess, which pieces. Things where, like there was like a kind of a silver gray one with Conch Aqua, silver gray jaw. That's going to look great. That's a good complementary color thing. I'm trying to think. I was even looking at the blue and white one, and that actually, with the Conch Aqua, it looked kind of cool. So I don't know. I'm just going to have to kind of pick one, see which one, I'll try and pick one that I think might be like the worst combination of colors with the Conch Aqua, and just to see how it turns out. But I'll turn that one just to make sure everybody in the Pen Blank Club gets like the best ones. But it should be pretty fun. I'm looking forward to turning one of these things up. They're really fun. And like I said, the beauty of doing the Gator jaw made out of resin, you won't even notice it. Where, there's going to be a little bit of a density difference with real Gator jaw bone. You got to, take precautions with the dust from that bone material. There's just more to deal with the real bone, but you don't get the novelty of it's actually a Gator jaw, But I think it's kind of fun that you get to play around with colors and create your own Gator jaws, whatever color you want. So pretty cool. It should be pretty fun. So one more reminder, and I'll drop one more quick link here. So the Turner's Warehouse open house is coming up in a couple weeks here now, guys. Pretty soon. We're going to be in Phoenix having a good time. All the info is on that page on their website, like the schedule for the demos and all that stuff. So it's February 7th and 8th. And then if you wanted to take a one-on-one class with me, that's going to be on February 10th, which is a Monday. And you can sign up on that page if you want to do that. I think there's 2 spots left. I'm not entirely certain. It's through their website, so I'm not entirely, like Amy usually tells me, but I believe that they're out of town right now, Amy and Chad. So I don't know if there's spots available or not, but at last I heard there was 2 on Monday. And that's a one-on-one class. Me and you, and we cast whatever you want to do. It's pretty fun. So if you want to kind of learn just the basics, we do that. If you want like to do a specific project or like a technique or something like that, and you just want, me to kind of help out, show you the ropes kind of thing, it's pretty cool. You get to take home whatever you make, all that stuff. So pretty cool. The demos are going to go all day Saturday. There's lots of really good ones. And then I'm doing one on Friday, another one on Saturday. And then, like I said, Monday is not really the open house. That's just if you're taking the class, kind of, with either me or with Emily. So should be pretty awesome. Hope to see whoever can make it out. It's always fun. I think I've been to every single open house that they've ever done there. I try to be as active with like the West Coast things as possible. And obviously I always like to support Chad and Amy over there at Turner's Warehouse. So, and it's fun. Like they always have a good time. There's some food. There's always awesome people. So that's the other thing about it is, there's demos. Yeah, it's, Turner's Warehouse. It's fun to go, hang out there. But it's really cool to just hang out and talk to all the people that show up, all the locals. Some people come in. I mean, we had a few people from Alaska come down last time. So, I think that was probably the farthest away, but people come in from quite a ways too. So good mix of people. So I'm looking forward to that. So hopefully, like I said, I'll see you there. But if you cannot make it, they are going to be live streaming the demos. So check out their YouTube channel and make sure to subscribe. So those will be, like I said, all the demos pretty much are going to be on Saturday. I don't think anybody else is doing one on Friday, but I'm doing one just because I'm going to do two. So I'm going to do the casting one on Friday, and that will be broadcast on their channel. So anyway, guys, I hope you all have a great, wonderful rest of the day, rest of the evening, most likely. Most people are on the other side of the country, or in the UK even. So it's even later night for you guys. But like I said, hope you have a great rest of the day, and get in the shop, do something fun, try out these little gator jaws if you can, find some. Like I said, you can find them online. Just Google search gator jaw, and you'll find a few places that you can buy them. And give them a shot. See if you like them. They're pretty fun to turn up. So anyway, guys, I will see you guys all on the next live stream. We'll turn one of these things up, and I hope you have a great night.